In today's tutorial, we're going to learn how to create an animation, animating a text that enters the screen and grows. That's the objective for this tutorial, how to add and animate a text. Let's begin. To animate a text, the first step is to select the text type tool on the toolbar. Let's click on the type tool, select type tool, then go to the screen. Any part of the screen you can click and create your text. Don't worry now about size or color or position because you can change all this in the effect control panel that I'm gonna show you later. Just click and start typing your text, in this case nature. This action automatically creates a new timeline track on the timeline representing the text that we just created. Then we can select the selection tool and then select the text and move it around, changing the position. To perform other changes such as change of color, change of size or style, you can go here to the effect control panel. You will usually have the source window selected and then on the right you find the effect control panel. Here you can find all the options to make changes to your track, including everything related to the text. You just open it here, clicking on this little arrow, and now you have access to all the individual features. Make sure to select again the text by double-clicking. Or if you prefer to just select one character, you just make sure to select it. But now we're going to be selecting the whole text by double-clicking. Once selected, you can start making the modifications. For example, you can change the size over here or change the color here on the field section. You just click the color and select the one that you wish. Let's select a green right now. Hit click to confirm, and then you can start making changes to the style. For example, you can add a stroke, in this case a white stroke. You can increase the width, and all these changes will be improving the aspect of your text, how well your text looks. Remember, you can use the text selection tool and change the position of the text. Now that we have our text, the objective of this tutorial is to show you how to animate the text, how to make it appear on screen. And for that, we're going to be using a lot this panel right here on the effect control panel. The first step is to determine in what part of the time I want to establish the beginning of my animation. For this example, I wanted to start right here, in the beginning of the video. Then I select my time indicator and I place it right here. Then I determine what's the behavior that this text should have at the beginning. How do I want it to begin? For this example, I want it to begin outside of the screen. So I select it, grab it, and then move it outside of the screen. Now, all those changes where I established that I am at the beginning of the video and my text is outside of the screen, I save it through keyframes. Keyframes allows me to record and move from one state to another. How do I create keyframes? Right here on the effect control panel. You will notice that each feature has a stopwatch without being pressed. Each feature has its own stopwatch, but now it's unselected, it's unpressed. Because my animation is about movement, I'm gonna be selecting the stopwatch next to position. And when you click it, it will turn blue. This indicates that this feature is being animated. You will also notice right here that a keyframe was just created. This keyframe is showing that the text is outside the screen at the beginning of the video. It's saving all those changes. The next step is to determine when do I want this animation to end. When do I want this text to stop moving. So for this example, I'm gonna be moving my time indicator to second number 3. To check the time information, you can go to the time code section right here. And then you see second number 3. We leave the time indicator there and then we update the position. So I have the time in place and now I'm gonna be updating the position. So I grab the text and move it to the center of the screen. Now you will see a dotted line indicating a preview of that animation, of that movement. You will also notice that automatically a new keyframe was created. So you will only press the stopwatch at the beginning of the animation. You only press which feature you want to change, but at the beginning. Then all the changes will create new keyframes automatically. So every time I change my time indicator to a new time, and make changes to the feature, it will automatically create new keyframes. Now let's play back to see the results. I go to the timeline, move the time indicator to the beginning, and press the space bar. This will play the video and you can see the animation. I can keep improving the animation by changing, for example, the speed. How do I change the speed? I want it to be faster, for example. So I go to my keyframes and move it. When the keyframes are closer to one another, the animation will be faster. So I move them closer and let's see the result. When I play back, the animation is way faster because my keyframes are closer one to another. Now, if I pull the keyframes apart, the animation will be slower. As you can see here, the text is entering slower to the screen. I can also add an additional movement by placing the time indicator in the middle of the two keyframes. So I select it there and change the position of the text. When I check the effect control panel, you can see that a third keyframe was added. Every time I move on time and make a change, a keyframe will be automatically added. Let's check then the updated movement. And those are the steps to create an animation. We need to determine when and how I want the animation to begin and when and how I want the animation to end. Let's do another one. From here, I want to make another animation. First step is to increase the duration of my text. I click and hold the edge of the track, and this way I'm making the clip longer. Now let's set the beginning time of the animation. Instead of being the beginning of the clip, I'm gonna place it just after the first animation. Now I'm gonna choose the next feature I want to animate. Instead of position, I want to animate a scale. So let's recap the steps. First, I established when do I want it to start. I want it to start right here. And how do I want it to start? I want it to start with this size. So I'm gonna record the beginning of the animation. How do I record it? By clicking the stopwatch next to a scale. And now the stopwatch is blue and a new keyframe is created, as you can see here on the right. Now this is the beginning keyframe, establishing the time when I want it and the way I want it. Now let's move on time to establish the ending of the animation. You need to move the time indicator, otherwise you are just updating the first keyframe of the animation. Now you have the time established, I go to the scale and drag the numbers, so I'm increasing the size of that text and leaving it in the size that I want it to end. Now that I made that change, automatically a keyframe was created for the ending of the animation. So it begins one way, and by changing the scale, it ends larger. Let's check the results. As you can see, it's growing slowly. This is happening because the keyframes are far apart. If I want it to be faster, I just click the keyframes and pull them together, and this way, the animation will be faster. Let's check it. So those are the steps to animate a text. You can try it in different ways, make another variations of the movement, and remember, every element that contains a stopwatch can be animated. You just have to determine when and how you want it to start, move to the ending time of the animation, make a change, and then the keyframe will be created. I hope this tutorial has been helpful. See you next time.